Hey everybody, ModelMan here with a look at the Moebius 1/6 scale B-9 robot. I actually shot a review of this before, but the files wound up getting corrupt and I lost just about everything. So, it's back to doing it again. 13 inches tall, nice. And they're repopping the Jupiter too. But in here, everything looks pretty close to magnificent, I think. Lots of big parts, very nice, more very nice. They give you a little bit of photo etch, and then they just leave it loose in a plastic bag to get bent. So, I don't know why they would do that either, but get yourself a piece of cardboard and attach the photo etch to that. A few clear parts and a big sheet of directions. Oh, and a tiny little decal sheet too. We'll have a quick look through the instructions here. Everything looks to be fairly straightforward. If you're going to light the kit or do anything, then you definitely don't want to go by the instructions that are presented here, simply because you may get into a situation where you get stuck. But otherwise, everything's looking pretty well straightforward. Diagrams are certainly pretty sweet. Nice illustrations. Let's take a look at the plastic. I don't know if I want to break these decals out. It looks to be just a lot of letters. Gamma 101, vector release, so on and so forth. It looks like 2 red dots and maybe a green dot. Maybe I'll pull them out. We'll see. I really want to take a look at all this plastic. I definitely will not be opening up the clear plastic bags though. So how about a quick look at them first. So it looks like all the pieces of the brain right on the left, and the under torso bits over on the right. And a few loose parts floating around in here, unfortunately, so I'll have to cut this open and rebag them. Top dome, it's really too bad there's no way to do that in a single piece somehow. Rest of the brain. Technically, I suppose I don't know what a few of these pieces are, such as the talking flashing light bit, or this guy here. So that will make referencing some of this a little more difficult for me, so I'm going to apologize for that. Ooh, that's a pretty sweet piece right there. That center chest piece area is excellent. But to get those to blink separately, that could be kind of tough. I'll have to think about that. A little bit of photo etch here. It is not backed by cardboard at all, which is really not cool. There should at least be the slightest bit of cardboard to protect those pieces from getting bent. So yeah, I got a couple things to open here and rebag, and give me a second. So there's 3 of these photo etch grills, and there's really only one place they can go, right behind there. Since I had to protect these pieces from any further damage and bag them on their own, we may as well take a look at all of this. This is really amazing. This is all separate tubes, just as if it were neon going across with space in between each of them. That's really great. So one substitute you could do for this is EL wire. String it back and forth. That could be a very interesting effect. The bottom of his mouth is also similar there, so I guess I can see why they would have to separate the 2 pieces. A bit more of his brain up here, and the reason why I was saying that to get each of these to light individually could be tough is that because it's a single piece of plastic, any light, even if it's an LED that's blocked off physically from all the other ones, like if you had partitions in between all of those and put the LED behind there, there's still going to be light bleeding throughout all of the plastic. So our only option on that would be essentially to replace all those top ones, and that wouldn't be too tough to do with fiber optics overall. You would just have to slice the plastic right across the middle there, keep the squares. To get all the squares to light differently, that could be a trick. I'll have to think about that. And this piece here does have a crack in it, unfortunately, and I don't know if getting this bubble in anything less than perfect condition from the manufacturer is acceptable at all. It's not a significant crack, it's not a big one. Aircraft guys may have ways to pull cracks out of canopies that might work on this, but it is distinct and there would be no way to hide it whatsoever. However, that seam across the middle is going to be its own issue, and who knows if there's going to be a way to hide that. Now, looking at Robot, I had always thought this inner piece here was concave and that it kind of bell-shaped up a little and then came back down. I'll have to watch that again. I'm really surprised by that fact right there. So let me get all these pieces bagged up and out of the way, and I'll cut open some of this plastic here. So let's take a quick look at all the vinyl pieces. The arms are not stretchable. This is a definitely soft vinyl. I'm really imagining that there should be some equivalent to this arm material, and they probably use like a dryer vent duct kind of thing for the show, in which case there could be some kind of something, I bet. I'm gonna look around and try and find an equivalent for this. There could very well be out there. Nice pieces overall. Each of them do have seams that are probably gonna have to be gotten rid of. Now in this case the seam is only on the inside, and none of these lines line up at all. Fortunately, being on the inside, that should be relatively easy to keep quiet. Seams on these pieces, there's two of them, one on each side. I guess there was no way for them to do a clamshell sort of mold. One disappointing thing here is that his brain bubble stem is one piece that doesn't stretch. That's really too bad. So when his dome bubble raises, this will not raise or move with it. Big old pair of pants, couple leggings. I'll be interested to see how they all go together. I think there's a flat metal piece of plastic that goes right there and separates these pieces. But let me get these out of the way and we'll open up the rest. So we've got here a fair amount of pieces overall. Far more than I was thinking that there would be. And they're just really huge. I mean, these feet piece here are basically just about as big as your hand, or at least will fit in your hand. Same with the torso overall. This is a pretty good size. The headpiece, the bottom of the torso. A couple duplicate screws. This one here and that one there, and then these two are the same. So we got some hand claws, some wrist cuffs, looks like the knee joint, and yeah, probably the top of his head maybe right there, or the top of his torso is that piece. Then over here, a few minor twiddly bits. Some of them may go in the brain bubble, and then obviously the rest of the foot as well. The straight up obvious thing about this is that in order to motorize this tread, you obviously have to remove the old tread. You have to remove, looks like you have to replace all of this plastic here, maybe perhaps precisely and exactly, and put the motor inside somewhere to drive them. That would be pretty sweet, and it would definitely be worth it. The other option would be to simply make your own version of this part out of styrene. That wouldn't be too tough, I don't think. You'd obviously have to get the outline correct, get the angles correct, but then you could do a lot more of your own work perhaps. Something to think about, daydream a while. This isn't a model I'll be able to build anytime soon. It's definitely far too complex itself, and there's far too much that I want to do for it that's going to be a lot of fun, like all the lighting and the motorizing and all that. Don't know that there's too much of a test build that I can really put together. I don't want to take the bubble apart, of course, because I just want to leave that on the sprue. Probably the most unfortunate thing I've seen so far is this injection point right there. That may not be too tough to cut away, but the fact that they put it front and center right in front of his eye, I've always figured it was his eye, his talking mouth box red thing, damn, there must have been a better place. They did manage to get a lot of the injection points to be under the lip, which is nice. I have seen that going on. There is a little bit of flash here and there on the parts, but it's not too pronounced. Like over here on the claws, they're a little rough cut. Not too bad, but definitely a little rough cut. And for reference, here we go. Not saying the old Polar Lights one was all that great. It certainly had its own issues, and the bubble is certainly amongst them, and primary amongst probably any possibility of building this as a model kit. I certainly didn't mind the seams back then. This was built probably about 8 years ago, I think, so I'm not too surprised at the overall condition of it. He does spin, and he is powered, not right now of course, but he's set up with a momentary switch so you can flash his eye basically. And it looks like I'm being called to dinner, so sweet. I'm really glad that this kit has finally been produced, especially at this size. It's going to be really good, and I can't wait to get to building it. There's going to be a lot of research to do first, so yeah, probably what I'll wind up having to do is go through the entire series, get every clip of every flashing, and really study what's going on, and then being able to categorize what the changes were over the different times and episodes. I think that'll help folks out a lot. And so, thanks for watching as always. See ya. Let's go get dinner, Bean. ModelManTom channel would like to thank the following for their sponsorship: Elliot Brown of Kingston Vacuum Works, featuring Fedoratron.com and WarmPlastic.com, lighting for extraordinary modelers, and vacuum forming tables for designers, modelers, and engineers. Kingston Vacuum Works covers it all. Paul at thefiberopticstore.com, now presenting the beta version of its new site, thefiberopticprojects.com. For an exceptional selection and great prices of fiber optics of all sizes and quantities, thefiberopticstore.com. Carpenter Creations. If you can dream it, you can make it. Brad and Carpenter, science fiction artistes. From full-scale board cubicles or droid displays of all kinds, Carpenter Creations. Steve Neal's Garage. Props and models for motion picture and discerning collectors, as well as prosthetic makeup and CG. Contact Steve through stevenealsgarage.com. Model reviews from Round 2 Models, AMT, MPC, Polar Lights, and Lindbergh. Scale Model Addict Magazine. The Orbital Defense Engineering Commission, a 2001 A Space Odyssey specific forum for scale model kits, reviews, news, and discussion. Odec.proboards.com. More than just talk, hobbytalk.com, a forum for every hobby. And for the finest reference collection of feature film studio props and miniatures and models, Modelers, Miniatures, and Magic at modelermagic.com.